Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another XRP update. Ripple has finally ripped that band-aid off, and I'm going to tell you right now that this was likely for the greater good, and from a purely objective Elliott Wave standpoint, it may actually be positioning us for a quicker push to all-time highs. Now, I know the haters here are lurking in the shadows, but step aside for a moment, remove that bias, take a breather, and let's talk strictly technicals now. Remove that emotions. Now, XRP yesterday has taken a very sharp detour to the downside, and that was one of our possible alternatives, actually, and has probably given us finally an opportunity now for us to work faster towards our targets to the upside. Why? Because it's still moving correctively, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to explain why once we zoom into the shorter time frames. Now, many of you wanted that drama. Well, you got it because it's now in that sharp correction, instead of that larger, more boring accumulation pattern that we also had in mind previously. So that just goes to say how fast crypto moves. Now, many of you probably already know at this point about the triangle pattern, but I still want to emphasize that XRP is one of the only coins that has actually created a clear 5-wave move impulse after the breakout. Remember, a triangle pattern is a consolidation before the final push. It's like a coiled up spring, and once the wave E ends, price should theoretically explode out of that triangle as a terminal 5-wave move, and that is exactly what we got. Bada bing, bada boom, 5-wave move here. But since we had a 7-year accumulation for XRP, it would be very strange to just say that the 5-wave move has ended here. That has ended the whole bull market. Instead, I believe that we need to finally fulfill this timing issue of this 4th wave by making sure that we have at least some kind of larger degree 5th wave that is relative to the larger pattern when it comes to the timing issue. And based on that thesis alone, this 5-wave move up here, I believe, has led us up to only the beginning of what could be a wave 1 of a larger move to the upside. Now remember, if you see a strong 5-wave move immediately following that triangle, it definitely confirms that the triangle was legitimate and not another pattern. I am almost certain that this is objective and not subjective. I am very certain and very sure that many would agree with this if you're looking at it from an Elliott Wave perspective. It gives predictive value, and the entire larger structure is most likely confirmed as a triangle and is going for higher levels. So now that the triangle is confirmed, we were very certain that after that 5-wave move, we had a wave 1 of a higher degree. Remember that timing issue. I don't think that this is the end of it. We've been talking about what corrective pattern may be building up for the past few months, but now we have even a clearer picture than before since we have more data. And right now, since we broke that wave W here yesterday, I think that this could be finally setting us up with a sharp WXY pattern instead of that larger flat pattern that we also discussed. Now, and that's not entirely out because we can still create a larger range here, which could theoretically be even healthier for the bull run. But I'm just here to lay out the foundation that this sharp WXY can actually be the end of this wave 2 very, very soon. So these Fibonacci levels here are insanely important for the bulls to hold, and I'm almost certain that these levels will hold. For one, we have two Fibonacci confluences agreeing with each other. If you take the wave relationship of this wave W and the wave Y, you will see that we are approaching the first level of massive support. That's the most important thing. But first of all, if we want to talk about these support levels, we have to zoom in. So we have to go into the 4-hour time frame. So let's talk about what could be actually making that WXY and how that WXY can actually be created. So this is the count here. So this is now a zoomed in perspective and a more detailed count. Now, the first thing that you want to be looking for is whether the move down, the initial move here that we had back in January, was impulsive or corrective. The first leg down was most definitely corrective. We didn't have enough momentum to create another second leg to the downside, which was a 4 and a 5. That was to create a 5-wave move that could have been even far more bearish. This, in return, allowed us at that stage to also assume that a wave 2 could have been completed. However, we didn't want to say that it was completed because it was very, very difficult to say that on a larger scale that this was a wave 1, 2 in the making. So that's when I started to idealize different possible complex patterns, such as a flat idea or even a double zigzag pattern as we have here. And since we broke that previous regional low, it now may be working that double zigzag pattern that we have here. Now, for the immediate short-term bulls, this isn't good news, and it wasn't good news yesterday especially, that many wanted to hear because we wanted to go to new all-time highs first. But let me tell you, It's okay. It doesn't really matter because even with that flat idea, when we reach those all-time highs, these levels were going to be retested anyways at a later stage. So if it's testing these levels now, it gives us that faster route that I was talking about to actually complete this wave 1-2 faster. Now, like I said, this zone is going to be an incredible ultimate test for bulls, and I truly think that these levels are going to be supported purely from that technical standpoint that I mentioned, because we have two confluence Fibonacci levels that are agreeing with each other. First of all, like I said, if we're taking the pivot point of this, and this here, of that WX, we can finally find that projection target for that wave Y. And what do you see here? We're already seeing that sort of reaction even before that 100% level. So I think this 100% level is showing that equality. Now, if you don't know, all you're doing is measuring this wave W against this wave Y. And the first level of confluence is usually that 100% level. And I think that's exactly why we're also getting a reaction at these levels. So that brings me on to the point that we have now finally possibly hit that first level of support. Now, is this going to be the ultimate finisher? But I don't know. We don't know. Simply, we have to figure out if this is a 5-way move that completed. It can technically be completed. However, what's important is that we have such a wide range of support at these levels now. Now, it's all free for all, basically Game of Thrones at this point, where everyone is now going to be fighting for and talking about which levels of support is going to be hitting. In my opinion, since we hit that first check mark over here at the 100% level, we now also have coincidentally hitting that 38.2% level. So this is our first major target zone of around $1.40 to the $1.50 level, which also coincides with that even number, the $1.50 level, which is very important to a lot of people, right? When it comes to the market psychology aspect. And it's not a very important thing, but it is important. But if we do break these levels, not to worry, because that 161.8% level is also a very, very common target, which is around the dollar levels. And what do you think? Look at that. Right in that 161.8% level is where that dollar level is exactly aligned. Not only that, we can even possibly wick down to this level at the 87-cent level. Not a problem, because at that level is a major Fibonacci level of the normal Fibonacci retracement of the entire 5-way move that we had up. So this gives us so much opportunity here to finally have a lot of the institutions, a lot of the retail to finally figure out what levels are going to be supported. And because the initial move down was corrective, the only way that I can see this is a possible WXY or possibly even a more complex structure, which could be even a triple zigzag, which is a WXYXZ pattern. And that, in my opinion, should theoretically complete off this wave 1-2. If that is the case, ladies and gentlemen, the most profitable wave is right on the way, which is a wave 3. That could lead us up to $10, $20, maybe $30 per XRP just based on the technicals alone, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care about the fundamentals. You can sit here, lecture me, give me a Harvard lecture on how XRP is going to be the future. It can cure cancer. I really don't care. But I'm telling you here that this should align with your thoughts on how XRP is as a project, but I'm telling you right now, just purely strictly from a technical analysis standpoint, that this could be leading us up to very, very high levels just based on this wave count alone. So that's the 1-2 count, ladies and gentlemen. I think that just due to the fact that we broke these levels is a very, very important opportunity for the bulls to take and actually look at these levels as support. Now, I said that we shouldn't be looking at the possible flat idea. Now, I think that is a little bit too early to call for. We can still create that flat idea just due to the fact that we had a WXY3 pattern here. If we do create a 3-wave pattern to the upside, then it's most likely going to be creating that flat pattern when we can still come down at a later stage and retest these levels. But either way, this is still giving us a very, very confident outlook on XRP in the future. I think that this is going to be moving up to the $10, $20, $30 at a minimum. Don't give me that market cap bull crap, because it's absolutely an old ancient technique that people have been applying since 2018, and that doesn't apply to the markets anymore. I can tell you right now, the market is simply determined by the previous marginal buyer and previous marginal seller, which is the whole idea behind the supply and demand of how XRP functions. So let me tell you right now, these levels here is going to be a massive support level. And I think at that point, if we're creating a wave 3, it's going to be even far more profitable than this wave 1. And that in turn should be giving us finally that wave 3 to the upside. And if we get that 4, 5, Maybe we go up to even $40 to $50 per XRP. Who knows? But that's how I'm going to conclude this video here, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully that was helpful on why I think that we actually can be looking at this as a more opportunistic approach, because we broke that low over here. So hopefully that was helpful. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a fantastic rest of the day. Bye-bye.